We'd like to start the press conference by Minister Kamikawa. Minister, the floor is yours. Please go ahead. Thank you. I would like to raise one matter, if I may. Just recently, I was at a seminar hosted by the Asian Population and Development Association on the topic of population and growth from the standpoint of well-being. While there are challenges such as declining birth rate and population decline, I believe that the notion of well-being, which means to be in a good physical, emotional, and social state, is a very important viewpoint to attract good talent and also to create high added value. So, from that standpoint, at the aforementioned seminar, I introduced Japan's efforts and initiatives in the domain of well-being. The concept of well-being is important in efforts by the international community to secure sustainability, including its activities in relation to the SDGs. As the global scale issues become more grave, together with efforts to accelerate the initiatives to deliver SDGs, we would like to lead discussions within the international community on various topics, including SDGs, bearing in mind the situation beyond the following year of the SDG, which is set at 2030. Also, I have set up an advisory panel of experts on sustainability in the international community. In eyeing post-2030, we will lead the discussions with the international community as Japan tries to secure its own sustainable growth as well as the sustainability of the international community as a whole. That discussion has just begun. I also introduced this effort in the aforementioned seminar as well. Thank you. That is all for myself.
Please raise your hand if you have a question. After you have been nominated, please come up to the microphone. Please state your name and affiliation. Matsuyama-san from Asahi Newspaper, please. I'm Matsuyama from Asahi. I'd like to ask about the Middle East. U.S. President Biden have laid out a ceasefire plan, and the G7 leaders have issued a statement the other day to fully endorse the plan. And so I would like to ask about how this statement came to be. And also, Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel has commented that this ceasefire plan is not enough for Israel based on local reports. So how will Japan work toward this ceasefire? Also, next week, the G7 summit will be held. So what are your expectations toward the Middle East related progress that you expect in the G7 summit, please? First, with regards to how this statement was issued. Local time, 31st of May, President Biden, in his speech, stated that Israel has issued a comprehensive plan with regards to the release of hostages by Hamas, as well as a ceasefire negotiation. Italy, the chair of G7, has made a proposal to endorse G7, to endorse this new negotiation plan as G7, and to urge Hamas to accept this proposal. And this G7 leader statement was issued accordingly. With regards to Japan's actions toward the ceasefire, considering the hostages as well as the people in Gaza and the grave humanitarian situation, the amount of time is limited. On the 2nd of June, I have already issued a statement on this topic, and we would like to urge all stakeholders to seize this opportunity to release all hostages and take steps to realize sustainable ceasefire. Japan will continue to work closely together with the mediators of this negotiation, the United States, Qatar, and Egypt. And we will work toward the ceasefire and release of hostages, working with related stakeholders, and take tenacious and persistent efforts diplomatically. With regards to the G7 Puglia summit that will be held in Italy next week, there will be summit discussions on this topic, and we would like to take this opportunity to reconfirm the coordinated response as G7.
Next question, Kamikawa-san from Yomiuri Newspaper, please. Thank you. Kamikawa from Yomiuri Newspaper. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to ask about the Ukraine Peace Summit, which is scheduled to be held in Switzerland. The other day, at the Shangri-La Dialogue, which was held in Singapore quite recently, President Zelensky of Ukraine stated that Chinese were encouraging other countries not to take part in the peace summit. I would like to ask, has the Japanese government also been subject to such encouragement by the Chinese side not to take part in the peace summit? And also, can you talk about your comments on the comments made by President Zelensky? Thank you. Now, at the Asia Security Summit, which was held in Singapore on the 2nd of this month, President Zelensky stated that China has been encouraging other countries to not to take part in the peace summit. I understand that he made those remarks at the conference. Now, on this month, the Chinese has stated that on the 2nd of this month, China has adopted a policy of not taking part in the summit, and also that they have conveyed concerns to various parties about the directionality of the summit. And he understands that such comments were made to the outside community. Now, with regard to response to the Ukraine aggression by the Russians into Ukraine, inclusive of this matter, we have been having constant exchanges of views with the Chinese on this matter. But as far as the summit is concerned, I understand that this is a very important conference for the international community to demonstrate its support for Ukrainian efforts to realize just a lasting peace. It is regrettable that China is not going to take part in this conference. As far as Japan is concerned, we'll continue to coordinate closely with various global South countries. We'll also strongly ask China to take responsible response and address this matter accordingly. Thank you.
Next question, please. NHK Igarashi-san. This is Igarashi, NHK. I would like to ask about India. India's general election have been held for over 1 month and a half, and the ballots will be counted on the 4th. And Prime Minister-led ruling party may maintain the rare third consecutive term for realizing the long-term economic growth. And so, what is your response to this, and what is your outlook for Japan-India relationship going forward? Starting from the 19th of April, there have been 7 rounds of voting in India's lower house general election. And I understand that the last voting was cast on the 1st of June. And there will be ballot opening on the 4th today. However, this is a matter that is a domestic political matter of another country. So as Japanese government, we would like to refrain from commenting. In any sense, India is an important partner in realizing free and open Indo-Pacific, and we will continue to work closely to strengthen our relationship. Next question, please.
Next question, Mainichi Shimbun. Moriguchi-san, please. Moriguchi from Mainichi Shimbun, thank you. I was asking about the registration of the World Heritage. I'd like to ask about the sodomites. I understand that the sodomites will now be subject to recommendations put forward by UNESCO's advisory board, Yoko. I understand, though, that the South Koreans have been very opposed to this, claiming that there have been forced labor issue. And also with regard to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with regard to the registration of the sodomites, I understand that the procedures for registration should be based on the consensus at the World Heritage Committee. I understand that discussions beforehand among parties are necessary or important. So can you talk about the state of the discussions you have with South Koreans on this matter? As far as Japan is concerned, toward the realization of the registration of sodomites as the World Heritage, we would like to have discussions, and we have been having discussions with the South Koreans so that the values of this mine as a cultural asset can be recognized as well. With regard to the status of the discussion, this entails a diplomatic exchange. I would like to refrain from talking about the specific details, but would like to continue to make serious, sincere, and continuous and very careful discussions with parties concerned on this matter. Thank you.
Next one, please. Harakawa-san from Sankei, please. I am Harakawa from Sankei. My question is regarding the Yasukuni Shrine. Red spray graffiti was on the stone pillar of the Yasukuni Shrine, and the Tokyo Metropolitan Police have investigated a man that is a Chinese national. However, this man has already returned back to China. So with regards to this incident, I have a few questions. So the Yasukuni Shrine is a religious shrine, and this is an attack on the religious facility of Japan. And this is a Chinese national who have conducted such behavior in this shrine. So I would like to ask for your take, Minister, on this incident. And also, is there any response that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs can take with regards to this incident? These are my two questions. Thank you. With regards to the incident that was pointed out, this is an act that is in violation of the relevant laws and regulations of our nation, and it is unacceptable that a video that endorses or encourages such actions is made and distributed. So from that perspective, we have communicated to the Chinese government via diplomatic route our concerns over this incident, as well as making a request to the Chinese government to urge the Chinese nationals to abide by local rules and regulations and to take rational actions.
Next question, please, Takahashi-san. We'll go on to the next question. Freelance journalist Takashi has been asked about the pandemic treaty, if I may. The WHO annual assembly was held until the 1st, and the pandemic treaty was not agreed upon because there was so much opposition. Also, in Shibuya Park, but 10,000 people took part in a rally that opposes the pandemic treaty. Now, Minister Kamikawa, how do you see this rally that was held in Japan? And also, what is the response of the Japanese government? How do you intend to respond to the pandemic treaty going forward as the Japanese government? Thank you. Yes, thank you. With regard to the so-called pandemic treaty, we realize that there are various views about this treaty. We are aware of that. But if you take a look at the WHO webpage, you'll find that in the draft text, there is no substance that raises concern about possible mandatory or compulsory vaccination or about possible restrictions to national sovereignty. And with regard to the discussion so far, no such substance was also treated as well. Now, with regard to public health emergency of international concern, it is important that all the parties, with regard to global health crisis that involves COVID-19, it is important that the international community should be united and take a response. Japanese government will continue to take constructive participation in such efforts, in integration of such international norms. And also going forward, we would like to make sure that we can provide very careful and accurate information to the Japanese public about this matter.
Next question, please. Lastly, from IWJ. I'm Hamuto from IWJ. I would like to ask a question that overlaps with Takahashi-san's question earlier with regards to the pandemic treaty as well as the revision of IHR. On the June 1st WHO General Assembly, the pandemic treaty's adoption was postponed. On the other hand, the IHR, or International Health Regulation revision, was agreed upon. And as was mentioned, on the 31st of May, in Hibiya Park Musical Hall, there was a launch of the national movement to protect lives from WHO. 40,000 people gathered, and the strong will of the people were shown in opposition to WHO. With regards to IHR, if it is within 10 months of the notice from WHO Secretary General, the IHR revision can be rejected. Given the 40,000 people's will, is there any intention to have another discussion regarding the revision of IHR or take this to the peoples? Take this question to the people. Well, first of all, the Japanese government welcomes the fact that the IHR revision was adopted on a consensus. The revised IHR enhances the prevention of health hazards and strengthens its preparation and response. We understand that there are various views with regards to the revision of IHR, and the Ministry of Health and Welfare, that is the ministry in charge, and we will consider a public comment with regards to the IHR revision. The government have been providing various information via MOFA's and Ministry of Health and Welfare's webpage in an appropriate manner. And going forward, to the extent possible, we will provide information paying attention to detail and in an accurate manner. And if there are any questions in the diet, we will also respond accordingly. This is the end of the session. Thank you very much.